So today we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions. This is something that I've been thinking about for oh, probably 2 months now. New Year's resolutions are one of my favorite things. I think mostly because I actually made a New Year's resolution and kept it, and it turned out to be one of the best things of my life. And that was my blog, my INFJ Woman blog. And so now, I mean, before that, I really didn't put a whole lot of stock in New Year's resolutions because I had never really kept any of them. I would always make them, but it was kind of like the typical, by the end of January, they were long gone. Um, but when I started my blog, it was a whole different thing because I knew that I wanted to keep writing and I was really excited about it. And then when the excitement started to like pass in February, I recommitted myself to it um by purchasing a domain name, which for me was like, okay, now I have money in the game. And now it can't go away because I've put $100 into this thing because it wasn't just the domain name, it was the website too. So I put $150 into this thing. So, and that was a lot of money for me at the time. So I'm like, okay, I have to commit to this. I have to keep going because I'm not just going to waste that money. So that really changed my whole perspective on New Year's resolutions. And I started to dive into how people form habits and how you can actually keep those habits. So we're going to go over both of those things today. We're going to talk about New Year's resolutions, and then we're going to talk about how to form habits and how to keep habits.
I believe the biggest problem in the world is that people don't understand themselves enough. This show is designed to help you understand your INFJ personality, heal from your past, and create a life that you love. I'm Sarah Kuhn, and this is the Quiet Ones podcast.
Before we get started, I just wanted to tell you about a book that I wrote that's called How to Form Lasting Habits. This is basically a collection of 25 different ways that people form habits and keep them. And it's perfect for this time of year, especially if you have New Year's resolutions. It'll help you figure out what the best way is for you to form the habit and to keep it in the long term. So it's not just one of those things that's like, okay, the first week in January, I'm super committed, and then you totally forget about it. New Year's resolutions are usually something that we want to change, some big thing in our life that needs to change. And so I want to help you any way that I can. And these ways of forming habits have helped me so much. I'm offering the book at a 22% discount in honor of New Year's for 2022. You can find the book at infjwoman.com/habits. And if you use coupon code NEWME2022, you will get 25% off. Plus, the book comes with a regular ebook, which is a PDF. You also get a flip book if you like to read through flipping through the book, if that's easier for you. It's always easier for me. You get a habit tracking worksheet as well. And then there are several other bonuses that come with the book too. So make sure that you check it out. You can find it at infjwoman.com/habits. And you can find the link in the show notes. So as I said earlier, I've been thinking about New Year's resolutions for a long time. It's something that I like quite a bit because, I've made New Year's resolutions and I've kept them. And I know how powerful it is to dream about doing something and then commit to putting the effort in and challenging yourself to do something that you've never done before, that you have no idea how to do, and then actually making it happen and watching it happen week by week by week. When I started my blog, everything changed for me. My whole life has changed since then. I had no idea that there were so many other INFJs out there. I had no idea that I would have, I think I just passed 64,000 followers on Instagram. There's over 160,000 people who've listened to my podcast. I had no idea that there were that many people out there that would be interested in what I had to say, would be interested in my story and what I had to share. I was just hoping that like one or two people would read my blog. And really, it took a couple of months for that many people to read it. In the past, I had started writing multiple times. And I've told this story over and over again. I would always write something and then expect a bunch of people to read it. And then that didn't happen right away. And so I would take whatever I had written, I would take it down. Like I would unpublish the blog post. And I would get so frustrated and aggravated. And I've realized recently that I do that with a lot of things in my life. I like this concept of believing in magic. Um, and I've seen magic, what I call magic, happen so many times in my life where I have wanted something, wished for it, dreamed for it, and then started working for it, and it actually happens. And so I believe that impossible things can happen. I believe that really big, amazing changes can happen in your life. But at the same time, I think sometimes I believe too much in magic and don't put enough work into the things that I want. Kind of like my blog posts, I expect to write a blog post and then 100,000 people read it like the second that I post it, which is terribly unrealistic when you think about it, right? But for some reason, we believe those things. I have the same problem when it comes to New Year's resolutions. Some of the things that are on my list this year of New Year's resolutions are things that I want them to happen right away. So I'll start with the biggest thing to me, which is like one of those things that I hate to talk about. But I feel like this podcast is filled with things that I hate to talk about. So let's just dive in. I really want to lose some weight. I want to lose a lot of weight, actually. At this point, it's 170 pounds that I want to lose. That would put me in a healthy weight category. I haven't weighed that much probably since I was in high school. So it's a lot of weight and it's a big challenge. And for me, this is like the magic thing that I was talking about earlier. Like, I expect to start a diet and lose like 50 pounds in the first week. I mean, realistically, I don't expect that. But when I start the diet and put in the work and I see that I've lost like 2 pounds, I'm like, ugh, this is so frustrating and disgusting and ridiculous. And really just 2 pounds? Do I stick with it long enough to see if maybe the next week it'll be 10 pounds or, in a month it'll be 10 pounds or 12 pounds? No, I can't say that I did or that I have. I was doing pretty well for about a month before Thanksgiving. And I think I was up to almost 10 pounds that I had lost. But then Thanksgiving, you know, is all about food. And between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I was like, okay, I can lose some more weight. But then I had like gotten off of my diet. And so I didn't basically. I just I just stuck with how I was eating at Thanksgiving. And then, somehow December just flew by. It always happens that way. I don't know why the end of the year always feels like it goes by faster than the beginning of the year. But I think the major point is that I don't stick with it. I don't have a routine. And the thing is too that like I know how to lose weight. So I really appreciate, I want to say this because it's important. I really appreciate everybody who sends me advice and comments and, like, this is how you fix things. I appreciate that. But here's the thing, I know how to lose weight. I know more about nutrition than I know about probably anything else because it's been a constant struggle in my life for, well, 36 years now. So I know how to lose the weight. The problem is that I just need to stick to it. It needs to be a bigger commitment in my life than what it has been in the past. And, I want to be completely honest. The fact that I have depression and anxiety makes a huge difference as far as my weight goes. I also have a binge eating disorder, so that contributes to the problem as well. But I know that there are things that I can do to make it better. It's just committing to those things and making myself do them. Mel Robbins talks about how you have to parent yourself. And when I heard her say that, I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I've never heard that before, but it's true. And I've been thinking about it a lot recently because I'm not very good at doing that. I I'm very good at doing things that I tell other people that I'm going to do. I'm very good at doing things for other people and sticking to them and making sure that they're done on time. But when it comes to me doing things for myself, I'm not very good at that. I've been reading this book by Jordan Peterson that's called 12 Rules for Life. And chapter 2 really struck me quite hard because it's called Treat Yourself Like Someone You Are Responsible for Helping. And he talks about how most people don't do that. Most people who are sick and they go to the doctor prescribes the medication, even if it's like antibiotics. If you're prescribed antibiotics, you should probably take them, right? But he says that as much as 40% of people don't take their medication. I mean, that was shocking to me. That was like really shocking to me. But then I thought about all the times that I haven't taken medication that was prescribed to me. I mean, I have several bottles of medication in my cabinet right now. I always attributed that to my mom is a nurse. She's been a nurse since I was in high school, and she's always had a cabinet full of medication. Um, and a lot of times, like if I have antibiotics, I'm allergic to penicillin, so a lot of times they give me these other types of antibiotics that hurt my stomach. So the whole time that I'm taking them, I'll have terrible stomach problems. And so I always call my mom and I'm like, "Can I stop taking this? Like, have I taken enough of this to fix the problem? Do I really need to take it for 7 days? Is 5 days okay?" Um, so I always kind of attributed that, like, that's my problem because my mom is always like, "No, you don't need to take it for 7 days." Or it feels like I have like a built-in um she's not a doctor, but she is like a consultant for a doctor. Um, that's like, okay, what's the real thing? I know this is what doctors tell you, like this is the best thing to do, but what's like the actual thing that I need to do? Like what's the bare minimum? Um, so it was really interesting to me to read the book that says, you know, 40% of people don't take their medication. Um, I guess I fall into that category. But there are levels of people who some of them don't take any medication, some of them take some of the medication like I do, and then some of them take all of the medication exactly as it's prescribed. But a large majority of people don't take it the way that they're supposed to. And in the book, Jordan attributes that to people not taking care of themselves. People don't treat themselves as somebody that needs to be taken care of. I think that's especially true for us as INFJs because we're really good at taking care of other people. we're always thinking about other people and wanting to help other people. And we come last on the list, right? It's so much easier for us to help other people. It's so much easier for us to look at other people. I was thinking about this as far as my weight loss goes too. If there was somebody in my life who was like, I want to lose weight, will you lose weight with me? I would be like, yes, I know how to do it. Like, this is what we need to do. Let's go. I'll hold you accountable. And I would do that. I would show up every single day. I would eat the specific food that I know I need to eat. I would do all the exercises that I know I need to do. I would be there. I'm like that accountability buddy. That's me. But when it's just me, it's like, it doesn't really matter that much. It's not like one of those things. So I guess that whole chapter, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping, that really hit home with me. And it almost helped me to like think of myself as somebody else. I read another book by Todd Herman that's called the Alter Ego Effect. And he talks about how you create this, like when you want to make a big change in your life, you create this alter ego. And he even suggests that you name the alter ego something different. So your alter ego is the person that you want to become. And basically, he also suggests that you have like something that will trigger your mind to change into that person. And so he has like glasses. So when he wants to be his alter ego, then he'll put glasses on. And his alter ego could be something like, more confident, more outgoing, um, just the things that you want to change about yourself, right? And so when you put the glasses on, you trigger your mind to say, okay, this is how we're going to act. And it's almost like acting your way into the person that you want to be, because you really have to train your mind that you're changing, right? That you're doing something different than what you have been in the past. And I was thinking about that when I was thinking about, treating yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. Um, I thought maybe it would be helpful to think of myself as a different person, right? To like think of an alter ego and give that alter ego a name and say, okay, I'm helping this person. I don't know what her name is. Let's see. Maybe her name is Penny. And it's like, okay, I'm helping Penny. Penny is the future Sarah. Okay. And we're just calling her Penny right now. Penny needs to lose 170 pounds. So in my head, it's like, okay, I'm there. I can do that. I'm right there. I know exactly what to eat. I know exactly how to exercise. I know what the plan is. So I have a plan and I'm putting it into action and it's going to work. Um, that's what I'm doing. And I feel like in my mind, it has helped me a lot to say, okay, I need to help this other person, even if this other person is just a future version of me. If I want to get this thing that I want, this thing that has been on my New Year's resolution list for 30 years, probably 25 years at the very least, then I need to figure out how to do it. And if that's the way to do it, then that's what I'm going to do. So that's the first thing on my New Year's resolution list. There are quite a few things too. The second thing isn't also something that I hate talking about. But like I said, this is what we do. We talk about things that I don't talk about to anybody else. So the second thing on my New Year's resolution list is that I'm going to start dating. I have really put off dating for years, mostly because I find it mind numbing, honestly. I've been on dating apps periodically in the past, and I feel like that's really the only way for me to find somebody because I don't go places, especially now since the pandemic. And there are so many people who feel so differently about the pandemic too. I mean, even just among my friends, there are some people who like completely ignore it, all the way to people who haven't left their house in 2 years. So, it's a wide spectrum. So I know that there's that many people out there, as as far as dating, it's like, okay, so where on the pandemic spectrum do you fall? and then and then you have to like dive into politics too, which can also, I mean, it could be volatile. I've had friends who've almost gotten divorced because of their differing politics just over the last 2 years. So I know that there's a lot of issues, and it's like, okay, mostly I've just been avoiding it because it's like, well, I believe in God, and whether you believe in God or the universe, it doesn't really matter. But have always believed that if I was supposed to get married, that God would send the right person to me. And it's another one of those instances of like believing in magic. and I don't, because when I think about it, like I want to believe that I have like this large amount of faith, and like, God is leading the way, and if he's going to lead me to the right person. But at the same time, I don't do anything to meet people. I don't really go out very much. I don't talk to guys online, So it's like I honestly believe that God is just going to drop somebody at my front door and I'm just supposed to know that this is like the right person. That doesn't really sound very realistic, And if somebody else would would have told me that story, I would have been like, listen, okay, I believe in God, but you have to put in the work. Like, God's not just going to drop somebody at your front door, okay? Like, the Amazon guy is probably the only person besides the mailman who comes to my house. And, a lot of times I don't even see them. I just get an alert on my phone that, hey, your package was delivered. So, you know, you have no interaction with these people. So they're probably not the right people for you. The fact of the matter is that you have to put in the work, right? You have to you have to put yourself out there. And I do believe that God will lead me to the right person. It's just that I have to start down the journey, you know? And dating apps for me, or websites, they're just so mind numbing because I mean, I was playing with one of them, well, with a few of them, because there were a couple that reached out to me that are like dating by your personality type, but they're so small that there are like nobody on there. But when you start reading their profiles, people are like, I'm so outdoorsy and I love to travel and I just want to spend all of my time outside. And I'm like, throw up. Like, you guys are probably not this way. It's just that everybody on the apps says this. And so you think that you need to say that. And if you are all that way, then this is not the place for me. I am not outdoorsy. I am indoorsy. I like being inside. I like reading books and watching documentaries and, doing things that generally require me to be in front of the computer. I like building websites and, looking at social media and building my business, learning about business. So none of those things are like outdoorsy things. I generally don't like to be outside because it's either too hot or too cold, and I hate bugs. I mean, unless it's the beach. I make exceptions for the beach. But the whole traveling thing too is like, I love to travel, don't get me wrong, but my passport is expired. and and um nowadays with the restrictions on travel, I don't know that I want to travel because what happens if you get stuck somewhere and you can't get home? That doesn't sound too interesting for me. So, anyway, plus, I don't want to to have to pretend that I like doing those things, I want somebody who generally likes to be at home too. Because if that's how I spend most of my time, then that's how I want to spend most of my time with somebody else, right? I want to be alone together, if that makes sense. So, anyway, I guess I'm going to fight through all of that stuff and try to figure out how to find somebody in the mess that is dating websites and apps. I'm thinking about doing a podcast series on it, probably some videos, just to share my journey with you. Um, there, there are a lot of caveats for me. So, I mean, like trying not to get too attached and learning how to write a good dating profile, and there's a lot of issues about self-love and accepting yourself the way that you are, and not pretending to like things just because you like the person. um so I feel like there's a lot there. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. um I know a lot of people send me questions about relationships and dating advice and stuff like that. I'm so not the person to ask. But I would love to hear your opinion too. Um, you can always reach me on email, or you can find me on Instagram, which is at INFJ Woman. All right. So a couple of other things that I want to do. These are just kind of like hobby type of things that will help me get out of my comfort zone and learn something new, and um, just have a little bit more fun and challenge myself a little bit more. One of them is to make my own coffee. So I love Starbucks coffee. I have a Keurig that I hate. So I'm going to buy an espresso um, coffee maker, which makes like espresso. And then I've decided too that I'm going to buy a real espresso maker and maybe find some classes to take, because apparently it's like this whole art in making espresso correctly and making it good. So I'm going to learn how to do that. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm learning how to make soap and candles. Um, I made some this week actually, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited about that. I'm trying to find some hobbies that like engage um some of the lesser used functions that we have, that kind of help us as INFJs get out of our head and more like be in the moment, use your hands, like get dirty. So that's where I came up with soap and candles. And then I remembered that I used to love painting. There are like these ceramic houses that we used to get from Michael's. I don't even know if they sell them anymore, but I used to love painting them, and I would just paint them for hours. So I was thinking about doing that type of painting again. And then one last thing, which is like a challenge for me, to be in front of the camera more often. I feel like me being in front of the camera is kind of a sporadic thing, and I still get extremely nervous. And all of my being in front of the camera is like in the comfort of my own home, in my apartment, where there's nobody that's watching me, nobody that's looking at me, um, nobody that's judging me. If you are judging me, you're doing it way later when you're watching the videos on YouTube. Um, so the challenge is to get outside of my apartment. And so I thought, I've long had this idea of doing like some YouTube videos about day trips from around where I live, because there's so many cool things around Boston, and so many just cool day trips. Like Salem is a big one. Everybody goes to Salem in October for Halloween. Plymouth is here. There's the famous Plymouth Plymouth Rock, where the Pilgrims landed. Um, and there's tons and tons and tons of things to do. There's tons of things in New Hampshire. There's this beautiful lake that I went to a few years ago called Lake Winnipesaukee. Um, there's a beautiful beach that I love to go to. And of course, Newport, Rhode Island is pretty close, and there's tons and tons of things to do down there too. So one of the challenges that I have is I don't have a lot of friends who like to go and do things like this. Most of my friends have kids and other obligations, and so they're not just like they can't just like jump in the car and go somewhere on Saturday or Sunday. And I don't really like going by myself. So I thought, well, maybe if I have a reason to go, if like I'm making a video about Newport, then obviously that's a lot easier than and than just going by myself. So anyway, I don't know. I'm going to try and stick to each one of these things, and hopefully some of them you'll see. So maybe you guys can help hold me accountable too. Maybe since I'm telling you about them, that will help hold me accountable. So what are your New Year's resolutions? I hope that in your resolutions that you're making a list of things that you want to do, but that you're also planning a way to challenge yourself. You can't really grow and change as a person. You can't really become the best version of yourself unless you're challenging yourself. So I hope that you do challenge yourself, and that you find a way to make yourself better this year. I know that for New Year's resolutions, it's really what we're talking about is habits, right? And everybody forms habits differently. Even if you find it difficult to start a new habit, there's definitely a way that you can start something new and stick to it. Like I said, my blog was, the first New Year's resolution that I had stuck to in years. And here we are. Let's see, I started in 2018. So we're like basically at the 3-year anniversary of it now, which is crazy to me. It's crazy that it's been 3 years, but I'm so glad that I made that resolution and that I figured out a way to stick to it. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about the ebook that I was telling you about earlier, which is called How to Form Lasting Habits. And basically it has 25 different ways to form a habit and stick to it. And I wanted to share a few of my favorite ones. So the second one is called Start Small. And this is one of the best things. So there's 4 different parts to this one, to form a habit that sticks. You make it visible, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. So when you make it visible, that is, you make sure that the habit is right in front of you from the start. Make sure that it's something that you see every single day. I did this with my blog by keeping a tab open on my computer. So every single day, I just noticed that tab on my computer. And then I also put together a schedule. And I said, okay, I'm going to write 1 blog post a week. And so I had the ideas in front of me, and I knew that by Monday morning, I had to post a new blog post every single week. And it was visible in that way to where I didn't forget about it. It was always right in front of me every single day. The second thing is make it attractive. So make it something that you enjoy doing, something that's fun. For me, writing was something that I'd always wanted to do. And even though it was a little bit challenging in the beginning, a little bit difficult, it was also a lot of fun for me too. The third thing is make it easy. Make it easy, make it as easy and convenient as possible. You don't want to do something if it requires a lot of work that you're not used to that you're not used to doing. So make it easy. When I first was thinking about writing my blog and I'm putting together my website, and I was looking at the website going, ugh, it's empty and it looks weird and I don't like the logo and it's just, ugh, it's so terrible. But then I started thinking about all the work that it was going to take to make it look the way that I wanted it to look. And I got overwhelmed very quickly. And I also was thinking, well, nobody's going to come to my website and read just one blog post. So I need to write like 10 blog posts. But then I got even more overwhelmed. And I thought, okay, that sounds like a lot. Maybe I can write one blog post a day. But then, I wasn't really in the routine of writing. And it was really difficult at first and challenging. And then there was this whole piece of like, I wrote this thing, it's terrible. I don't know what to do with it. Like, do I really want people to see it? So there's this whole piece of like self acceptance and putting yourself out there. And I'm like, this is really, really difficult. So obviously, writing a new blog post every single day is way too much. And at the time, I had a job where I was working pretty much 24/7. So I never knew how much work I was going to have and how much time I was going to have. So I thought, okay, I can definitely commit to one blog post a week. And maybe I can commit to like one page of my website a week too. So I can improve the front page one week and the about page next week and the blog page the next week. And so I committed basically to writing one blog post a week at the bare minimum. And to me, that sounded too easy. But it was like, no, I can do that. I don't need anything more challenging than that right now. Obviously, over time, that's changed because I've built multiple websites since then. But it took me years to get to the website that I have now, which I absolutely love. So the point is, in the beginning, don't take everything on at the same time. Just start with something that's easy. Even if it feels too easy, as long as you're making a change, then that's all that matters. And then the last part is to make it satisfying. So make it feel good. Even if it's just checking something off of a list every single day or every week, make it feel good. And so for me, the schedule that I made, that was like checking something off of a list. And I still have all of the schedules. What I do is I keep them in Google Docs, in actually Google Sheets, which is like Excel. And so I keep the whole list for the whole year. And every time I write the blog post and publish it, then I turn that little cell green. So I know that it's done and it's ready to go. And then what actually happened was, when I had more time, I would write more blog posts so I could have them scheduled out earlier. So I didn't have to rush at the last minute. And that made me feel even better. That was like checking two things off of the list, which I love lists and I love to check things off. Okay, so that's the first habit. Or that's the first way to find to form a lasting habit. The next way is another thing that I love that has helped me a lot too, which is find your why. Anytime that you start thinking about forming a new habit, you have to think about why. Why am I doing this? What does it matter if I do this? Because there are going to be times when it gets difficult. You're going to start thinking that. It's like, what is the point of this? Why am I doing this? Does it even matter that I'm doing this? There have been many times that I've been struggling with my blog. There have been several times this year, actually. People have been attacking me on social media. I don't know why. I have no idea why. All I can think, and all of the information that I can gather about these people, is that they're like these teenage kids who are mad at the world, who probably still live in their parents' basement. And they have just picked me as a target, probably one of many targets. But in those moments, when I read all the terrible things that they're writing about me, I think to myself, why? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting all this work into this? What does it really even matter? The reason that I started my blog was because I was going through a really difficult time. I was I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I had been struggling for several years to figure out how to get through those things or how to just feel better in general. And when I found my personality type, everything changed. I felt so much better. I felt like I knew why I was the way that I was. And I knew that I wasn't alone, that there were other people out there who felt the same way. And just having that knowledge made me feel so much better that I thought maybe there are other people out there who need this information too. Maybe I can help other people who are struggling too. So that was why I started my blog. I thought if I can just help one person, then that's all that matters. All of the work, all of the time, all of the money, everything that I'm putting into this, if I can just help one person, that's all that matters. So every time it gets difficult, I go back to that why. Every time I start thinking, what is the point of this? Why am I dealing with this? Why am I struggling with this? I go back to that why and I say, okay, one person. There's one person out there who needs this. This is why I'm doing it. This is what matters. When you know your why and you have a strong enough why, then it doesn't matter what the struggles are. Um, you'll always have something to fall back on and say, okay, I know this is bad, but it's gonna work. Like it has to work. Okay, and the last thing that has helped me so much, is it is the it's number 15 in the book. It's called Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is. So a lot of times we have a habit or a goal that we want to achieve, right? We have something that's on our New Year's resolution list. And we think, well, I want to lose the weight, but I don't want to buy an exercise bike that's like $2,000 because what if I don't use it? Then I'll just lose the money. When I first started my blog, I wanted my own website, but I'm like, well, it's $100. Plus, you have to buy the domain name, which could be another $20 for the year, and then you have to spend that every single year. And I was like, well, I just don't know. Like, that seems like a lot of money. And for me, back then, it was a lot of money. So what I did was I started my blog in like late December of 2018. And I thought, okay, if I can stick to this for just a few weeks, maybe after I get past Christmas and recovered a little bit financially, then I can buy the domain name and buy a website package for a year. So I stuck with it through all of January and through all of February. And the end of February 2019, I bought the website and I bought the domain name. And like I said, for me, it was probably about $150, but it was a big investment. And since I had that investment, then I knew, okay, I've spent the money. I'm not going to waste the money, so I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to keep going and to put the work in. And maybe now that I have my own website, people will actually start reading my blog. And I can promote it in different ways. And I know that the link isn't going to change because, I changed the domain name. And I really feel like that was a huge turning point for me. It made a big difference. Another place that I saw this in my life is, like I said, I've been struggling to lose weight for years. And there was a time um, probably 2012, 2013, I decided that I wanted to start running. I don't know why. I just decided that was the thing to do. And so I started running on my own. The place that I was living had a fitness center, and so I would run on the treadmill, but I really didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. And I felt like it was really difficult, and I thought, well, maybe there's a way to make it easier. And so I found a personal trainer, and back then I was making significantly less money than I make now. And the personal trainer was $300 a month. And I was like, ooh, like $300 a month was a massive investment. It was like I can only eat half as much food as I was eating before. It's like, okay, I have to cancel my cable because I'm trying to like take money from other places to figure out how to pay $300 a month. But I really wanted to get in shape, and I thought that running was the way to do that. And so I scraped together $300 a month to pay this guy. When you have to sacrifice other things to pay for this one thing, then you treat it like it's something special. You know that you don't have cable because you're paying this personal trainer. And so you spend time at the gym every single day that you're supposed to. When he says, hey, you need to do 50 squats and 50 lunges after you run 2 miles today, then you do it. You run 2 miles, you do the squats and you do the lunges, and you're like, okay, I'm putting in the work. I wasn't smart enough back then to actually notice the results because what I wanted was to lose weight, and I didn't actually lose weight. But I did look a lot better. I was leaner because, I had a lot more toned muscles. But that wasn't what I wanted. And so I just focused on the fact that the scale hadn't changed. And then I was disappointed because the scale didn't change. But I was very intense about keeping up with my workout routine and doing all the things that I was supposed to do because I was spending $300 a month, and it was a lot. Now, with this way to form a habit, I'm not saying that you should put yourself in a bad financial position. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that you should stretch yourself a little bit. You should invest enough money where it makes a difference for you so that you know that you're going to stick with it. This past summer, I bought a business course that was like a 12-week online course, and it was a lot of money for me. And I showed up every single time I was supposed to show up, and I did the work, even though some of the assignments I felt like were ridiculous. And, it required me to be on video chats with people that I didn't know, which was super uncomfortable for me. But I showed up and I did the work because I had the financial investment and I knew that I didn't want to just lose that money. So a lot of times all it takes is putting up some money to say, okay, I'm really committed to this. And if it's $100 or $100 a month or $300 a month, whatever it is, it just needs to be enough so that you're committed. All right, so that's what I have about New Year's resolutions. I really hope that you have a list of New Year's resolutions, and that something on the list, if not multiple things, will challenge you to be better than what you were this past year. And I hope that those challenges will push you into the person that you want to be. If you need some help to form these lasting habits, then I hope that you'll check out my book. It's called How to Form Lasting Habits. You can find it at infjwoman.com/habits. And if you use the coupon code NEWME2022, you'll get 22% off your order. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate every single one of you. Please make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast. It helps other people to be able to find us. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you again next week. Hi there! I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm working very hard to produce content that will help you, and I really, really appreciate your support. Also, if you want some more inspiration, check out this video right here.